Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for checking the video out today. We are talking once again about God of War Ragnarok, more specifically the reviews for God of War Ragnarok. They officially released today, and obviously there is a ton of expectation surrounding this game. For those who are not aware, God of War 2018 reviewed incredibly well. It's sitting at a 94 on Metacritic. It won Game of the Year in 2018 and has since been talked about as, one of the greatest games ever made. Now, obviously, anybody who's working on a follow-up to that is bound to feel a significant amount of pressure to, at the very minimum, be able to match what came before it. Obviously, the hope is to surpass what came before it. But again, considering just how highly regarded God of War 2018 is, it's a very, very high bar that's been set. Well, I'm happy to let everybody know that as of the time of this recording, God of War Ragnarok over on Metacritic is sitting at a Metascore of 94 based on 110 critic reviews. And not a single one of these reviews out of the 110 are in the mixed or negative category. They are all in the positive category, which is phenomenal. Now, we've seen this score fluctuate between 94 and 95. I've seen it go up to 95 a couple of times, and it may continue to fluctuate throughout the next day or so. But make no mistake, God of War Ragnarok is yet another masterpiece game developed by Santa Monica Studio. And what makes me so impressed by this is just how difficult it is to pull off what Santa Monica is pulling off right now. That being to match, and in some ways, based off of some of the reviews I've been reading, surpass what they did with God of War 2018. It's a very, very difficult thing to achieve. And if you listen to any of the development team at Santa Monica discuss this game, talk about everything that's went into it, everything they poured into it, you definitely get the sense that they fully understand and they are fully aware of the expectation that surrounds this game and their team. Now, obviously, looking at this, a 94 on Metacritic, that's incredibly difficult to achieve, but let's put that aside for a moment and acknowledge that at the end of the day, these are all just opinions from individual people. It just so happens that pretty much everybody is in agreement that, yeah, this game is really, really good. But I don't want to speak about reviews or review scores as if they are the be-all, end-all. At the end of the day, every person has to look at a game that's being presented, watch some trailers, watch some gameplay, and at the very least, maybe listen to some reviewers or people you trust to talk about it, and then make your own decision, right? I'm sure everybody's had that experience where you played a game that had a lower score and you ended up loving, or maybe a game that had a higher score and you ended up not loving as much as you thought you would. I think that if you played God of War 2018 and you really enjoyed it, it's safe to say that if you play God of War Ragnarok, you will likely also enjoy it very much. So I just kind of wanted to take a moment to say that, because now what I want to do is actually go over some of these reviews. Obviously, we're not going to go over the entirety of these reviews because there's a lot of them, but I just figured we could maybe highlight some of what's being said here from different review outlets and help kind of give you an idea of, what's the gist here? What exactly are the reviews saying about God of War Ragnarok? Now, obviously, this is going to be spoiler-free, so you don't have to worry about that. And all of the footage I'm going to show in the background and that I've been showing in the background is just stuff that's already been out there. I believe the reviewers were able to show new footage, but I know most people at this point feel like they've seen more than enough, and anything they see beyond this feels like it's practically, going into spoiler territory, and they want to just kind of keep it fresh. But we're going to start here with Game Rant, giving the game a 10 out of 10. They say God of War Ragnarok is a once-in-a-generation game. It doesn't just live up to its high expectations, but it subverts them and expands beyond them all the same. There's nothing quite like it on PS4 or on the PS5 yet, and it would be hard for anything to live up to the same heights. God of War Ragnarok may not make full use of the PS5's features, as there is nothing necessarily groundbreaking that couldn't be experienced on a PS4, but it's absolute proof that vision, artistry, and creative direction far outweigh hardware. So this one was an interesting take in my opinion, because they do kind of mention the fact that this is not what you would consider like a next gen game. And I think we've all kind of, accepted that at this point, but it is important to always understand that when it comes to any game, regardless of which platform it's releasing for, or which piece of hardware it's releasing on, it is true that it is the creative direction, the art, the vision, all that stuff that really does make the biggest difference at the end of the day. But next up, we have VG247, also another 10 out of 10 review, saying so much information is communicated to you so naturally by subtle things, the clunk of an inert attack on an armored enemy, or the slight twinkle of a fully charged swing, that finding your own style within the skill set is instinctive. And that's without the jarring stops and slowdowns that give knuckle-cracking impact to every hit and have you throwing yourself into each shot, like a football manager kicking every ball for their team on the sidelines. You get the biggest sense of this in the many passionately fierce boss fights that punctuate the game. They do a great job of incorporating unique mechanics without coming off as cheap or overly simple, and really these boss fights are emblematic of what makes God of War Ragnarok great. They're hugely successful meldings of an involving story and brutal action that not only produce an eye-popping, absorbing spectacle, but an impassioned investment in the outcome as well. So this one was another review summary here that I wanted to acknowledge, because they're focusing on the boss battles. Whoever reviewed this game from VG247 and decided to give it a 10 out of 10, it seems like the biggest thing to them was just that, the intensity of the boss battles and how unique each one was, and how, in their opinion, that just, really is the standout thing here. And that, I think, is exciting, because that is absolutely something that is expected with a proper God of War game, some epic boss battles. So we have IGN also giving God of War Ragnarok a 10 out of 10. Their summary is very brief, but they say here that God of War Ragnarok is an almighty achievement and creates a new high that makes many of its peers look mortal by comparison. So definitely a bit of a dramatic one there, but definitely getting the point across that apparently this game really is taking things to another level. And as they say, I mean, I'm going to be honest, that's some pretty high praise, saying it takes things to a new high, and basically saying it's going to make it difficult for their peers to match that. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Moving to the next 10 out of 10 review, though, this is coming from VGC, and they say God of War Ragnarok is an incredibly special game. It's vital in a way few releases are, with captivating performances that carry an amazing story to a jaw-dropping final act. It's a game that achieves everything it sets out to do to the absolute highest standards. So huge praise there coming from VGC. Moving on from that, we are looking at Games Hub, where they also give the game a 10 out of 10, and they say nothing about God of War Ragnarok feels any less than meaningful, refined to the highest degree. Every hour you spend with Kratos, Atreus, and the memorable characters of Ragnarok feels fulfilling, whether it be journeying across the Nordic realms with your companions, taking in the beautiful sights and enjoying idle chit-chat, overcoming the odds in invigorating and varied melee combat encounters, or sharing in the deeply emotional connection between incredibly strong and nuanced characters. So again, very high praise there, this time coming from Games Hub, and they're kind of saying that in every area of the game you find meaning. There is nothing here that feels as though it's kind of, falling short. So I have to say it's really nice reading these reviews and kind of going over many of them, because they're just reaffirming what I already anticipated, which is a game that's going to live up to the expectation, right? A game that's going to deliver, and a game that at the end of the day, I'm really going to end up enjoying and looking back on and think, wow, that was one of the best games I played this generation. Now, I'm going to go down here to one of the, I don't even know if I can call it a lower review, but it's just so many of these reviews are so high that, when you see a couple of outlets give it, say, an 8 out of 10, I think it's only natural to kind of wonder, well, what do they see differently here. You know, what makes it to them not a 10 out of 10 game? So we have Digital Trends, and they gave it an 8 out of 10, and they say God of War Ragnarok is much bigger than its predecessor, though not inherently better. It's more reminiscent of the jump between the original God of War in 2005 and God of War 2, offering a largely similar experience down to its plot beats. That larger scope makes for a messier story that loses some of the previous game's intimacy, but the trade-off is even sharper combat that further establishes the franchise as the god of action games. So, pretty interesting there. I gotta say, like, you know, to me, what stands out here is not the fact that they're saying that it's, you know, reminiscent of the jump between God of War 2005 and God of War 2, but they seem to maybe have not enjoyed the story as much as, you know, say everybody else that's giving it 10 out of 10s, saying that it's a bit messier. So, you know, again, that's where you have to just take into account that not everybody is probably going to consider the story of God of War Ragnarok a 10 out of 10. Even with God of War 2018, there were individuals who still didn't think that story was a 10 out of 10. So, I mean, you know, the lowest review I'm looking at here is an 8 out of 10. I'd say that's pretty good. And before I close out this video with my final thoughts, I do just want to let everybody know that as of the time of this recording, there are about 7 outlets that have yet to publish their reviews. They're still in progress. Outlets such as Eurogamer, Kotaku, Polygon, The Verge, and a few others. So we just want to keep that in mind. But yeah, I want to take a couple of minutes here to kind of react to this and talk to you guys about it, because I'm sure anybody who has been looking forward to this game was certainly anticipating the reviews. How could you not? When you look at just how much praise a game like God of War 2018 received, you just naturally wonder, you know, is the sequel going to be able to follow that up, or is it going to fall short? I did see some people anticipating that it was definitely going to fall short, you know, thinking maybe it'll get like an 85, an 88, an 89, something like that on Metacritic, which would still be good, right? But it's just when you see a score like this and you see such universal high praise, that to a lot of people indicates an absolute must-play game, a game that, you know, even if maybe you don't think it's a 10 out of 10 after you play it, it's still something that's worth playing nonetheless, right? But anyway, that's going to do it for the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. At this point, I want you to leave your thoughts down below. I'll be very interested to see what you guys had to say. Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.